Robert Jacobs, I don't know if you're familiar with that story. He was stationed at Vandenberg Air Force Base with a very advanced camera, video camera, and he shot a video of a test flight of a dummy warhead. It was on an Atlas missile on the Pacific Test Range, and so the dummy warhead leaves the final stage and is flying towards its so-called target in the test area. And a UFO comes over and fires laser lights at this dummy warhead. In fact, it flew a circle around this warhead that was going about.
And he got video of this.
He's got video of it.
Really?
It was confiscated.
Is it in the public?
It was confiscated by the CIA. But this is actual video. And his commander saw it. They both saw it together in front of these members of the CIA. And right after that, they took the film, and who knows where it is.
Well, they also told him this never happened. You'll never speak of this.
Right.
Did he sign a document? Was he forced to sign a document?
No, he did not sign a document.
And he's come forward. He's come forward.
Okay.
He's one of the affidavits you have.
Okay.
He's available, by the way, to be a witness.
Okay.
So I wanted you to know that I have spoken to Errol. I have also...
And it left it out of the report. Is anyone like surprised here? Like,
No.
the federal government, it never ceases to amaze me what they do. Like the disinformation, the propaganda, the misinformation, just completely, left it out. It doesn't fit their narrative.
But I've got all that documentation. If you want any of it, I'd be happy to provide it to you.
Yeah, be true. Nothing here happens fast, but I would love to do ETs and nukes, because I mean it's valid. Whether it's our technology or something from out of this world, it's huge. And thank you for coming over and introducing yourself.
Past few weeks, hundreds of eyewitnesses have now reported seeing large-size UFOs or drones, you can call them whatever you like, hovering for hours, not minutes, over parts of the United States, from Arizona to New Jersey to North Carolina, all across the United States. Many reports that these are hovering over military installations as well. And now we know that the FBI is actively investigating these UFOs. In fact, we just got word that these UFOs are now hovering over federal agents' homes. Listen.
Well, Will, one of the ships was in fact inspected by the Coast Guard, and they couldn't find anything. The thing is that there were several other suspicious ships in the region that they never got to. And Will, it gets worse. Just a couple of months earlier, there were several mystery drone flights over our nuclear testing range in Nevada, just north of Las Vegas. And again, nothing was done. And it gets even worse. Some of the FBI agents that have been assigned to look into this have reported drones flying over their homes as if to say, hey, we know where you are.
Well, we wanted to bring in Representative Nancy Mace, who's been outspoken on this issue. She sits on a number of committees in the House of Representatives, the Committee on Oversight and Accountability, Committee on Armed Services, and the Committee on Veterans Affairs. And we wanted to welcome the Congresswoman on the show today. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So given the fact that we've seen a number of these large-scale incursions over the past few weeks, this is alarming, and now we're seeing it in the United Kingdom as well. Do you think the Pentagon, do you think the Biden administration is taking this seriously enough when we now got reports of these things hovering over federal agents' homes? What are you hearing, and what do you want the government to be doing about this?
Well, number one, regardless of the origin of these devices, this technology, these drones, whatever they are, this is a national security issue. And I can tell you, number one, Congress has not been briefed on it. So if the Pentagon or one of the three-letter agencies of the White House is observing these, is investigating them, we are not aware of any of that because we haven't been briefed on it. And when you look at the sites where some of these things are hovering, you really have to question their motive, why they're there, and how big of a national security threat is it, and then who is it? Why haven't they been shot down? Why don't we have these devices in our possession? Maybe we do, but it sure would be nice to know, and I sit on the House Armed Services Committee, it sure would be nice to know that we are watching our back and that we are protecting our nuclear sites, our military sites, government sites, etc.
And I haven't heard any reports of these being shot down. No
None.
eyewitness reports
None.
that I've heard from any of our sources. And the same thing in the United Kingdom. We do have video in the United Kingdom of apparently a helicopter incursion with these drones, and they're mimicking the helicopter. I mean, zipping up where the helicopter is trying to take evasive action, they're following and zipping right in the same pattern. If they are from Russia, if they are from China, then where's the mothership? How are large-scale drones just hovering over the United States? They have to return to something. It's shocking to me that you guys haven't been briefed on this. It's alarming.
And who would ever allow this? Like, if it's one of our adversaries, to hell with it. We absolutely should shoot it down. We should know what kind of technology they're using. We should know what kind of data they're collecting on us and our allies. What are we doing about it? And it looks like nothing, just like the Chinese spy balloon. It was allowed to go all over these military and nuclear sites across the country. Finally got shot down off the coast of my home state after it traversed the entire United States, west coast to east coast. And, how can we be taken seriously if we aren't taking our adversaries seriously, if that's what this is?
I mean, my mind also, I always look out for false flags. It's something we cover here on the show to make the American people aware of, trying to deceive us, trick us into believing one thing, that there's a large-scale alien invasion right now happening before President Trump takes office to try to bring us all together around martial law or something else. I know that's a big leap, but do you worry about that type of agenda before President Trump takes office on January 20th?
When you look at the PSYOP, basically, that's been done on the American people regarding Trump and the lawfare, nothing would surprise me anymore. These are people that have lied to our face, lied to the faces of every single American, day in and day out, 24/7, 365 days a year. Nothing surprises me anymore.
Are you hoping to have a UAP select committee with sort of church-style hearings once a month? Maybe I'm projecting, but I would love for you guys in Congress to have once a month we have these hearings, because each time you hold one of these, we get new revelations about reverse engineering of craft. We have these craft. Now we have biologics. That's an admission on the congressional record now. Yes, we have off-world vehicles. Yes, we have off-world biology. We have beings now in our possession in some capacity or in some research capacity in these deep state programs. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and one of the other things we learned at the last hearing is that we're compensating people for their injuries in some of these crash retrieval programs, which I find very interesting. So if the program doesn't exist, why are we paying people for their injuries incurred during working on the program that doesn't exist? Like, none of it, I'm not a mathematician, but it doesn't add up.
Do you hope that we'll have a select committee on this where we'll get these sort of monthly hearings?
I totally support a select committee in that endeavor. There's going to be a U.S. Senate hearing this month, I believe, on UAPs. I believe it's going to be next week. And so I support any kind of transparency, accountability, and disclosure in a select committee or any other. But also our committees and subcommittees of jurisdiction that do any national security work, we should be holding regular hearings within those subcommittees about this, because to me, it is a national security issue. No matter if you're a skeptic or a believer, it doesn't matter. It is still a national security issue and should be treated that way.
Talking about these off the books programs, we've been focusing here on the show quite extensively. We've spoken to whistleblowers who've worked at the neutrino base in Antarctica. Of course, it was controlled by these military contractors down there. I think it's been transferred now to Raytheon. And so there's a lot of interest in what's going on in Antarctica. It's out of the United States, so we don't have to talk about it. We don't have to see video footage of it. Is there any concern? Have you talked to any members of Congress, any whistleblowers, anybody that's come forward to talk about concerns about what's been happening down in Antarctica?
One of the rumors that we've heard on the Hill, both in the hearing that I held a few weeks ago and the hearing with David Grush last year, is that the government uses private contractors to skirt the law, to skirt the Constitution, to skirt disclosure, to skirt the requirement to inform members of Congress, White House, et cetera. And so if this is a continuation of that, then it's deeply concerning that it would be happening and that we should call in. I mean, I would love to see us call in the contractors that are allegedly involved and find out what's actually been happening, what's been going on, and who's hiding what from whom and what agencies. Because is this a case where, maybe the DOD knows something, FBI or CIA or DNI knows something, and the White House is kept in the dark? Like, where is the strategy here and who's in charge? Because it's not the people, nor Congress.
Right. Well, I would love to share with you off camera, if you'd like, the whistleblowers who worked at the base in Antarctica. We would love
to hear that, get that information, that data, and protect them by all means necessary.
Are you going to subpoena anyone from the CIA or anyone who might be involved in these deep state programs as part of perhaps a select committee or otherwise?
That is not on the docket yet. I've not heard my colleagues discussing that. But again, I am open to disclosure in any way, shape, or form that we can. You have a right to know how your tax dollars are being used. Even if we can't know every detail to every program for national security reasons, at the very minimum, we should know what programs exist and how that money is being used and who's in charge of it. And when are we getting the report? When are we going to, because we know we've been lied to by the federal government many times over.
I know you've been frustrated with the Pentagon. So here you are in Congress trying to get answers. You're not getting answers on, they were supposed to be moving in parallel with you to be investigating this. Where does that stand from the Pentagon side?
Yeah, well, we had a report come out earlier this year from a federal agency, the Aero agency, looking at UAPs and UFOs and debunking what's real and what's not and all that sort of thing. And they said 0 accounts of UAPs and UFOs are unknown, which is just, it's flat out, it's never going to be 0, because even if you're a skeptic, there's going to be some sensor that malfunctions. It's never 0 scientifically, statistically. So right off the bat, you're being lied to. And of course, I've seen memos now that are declassified between the Pentagon and between the FBI, for example, that several decades ago where they were talking about a crash retrieval program, and the FBI would help the Pentagon, but only if they got access to the crashed craft and share that information, because previously the DOD was hiding it from the FBI. So, we know that there were some agencies that were fighting over who got access to the information and the data, going back decades. And so it's really important that we have full disclosure, at least with members of Congress, and know where the money's going, because they're spending a lot of money on these programs.
Yeah, that's stunning. And of course, we had the big audit, right, of the
and they can't pass an audit. Like, they've never passed an audit. 7 audits, they've never passed one.
I mean, if I was running my business that way, I would have been there's just no way. I would have been out of business immediately. It's unbelievable to me that we're missing $1 trillion, and the American people are supposed to sit there and just sort of take that. It's ridiculous.
It's disgusting. And because they're in charge and they're better than the government, they're better than the people, they get away with it year over year, and nothing ever changes. That's why we need full disruption on the Hill with Donald Trump's nominees. We need people to just turn the place upside down, get rid of the bureaucrats, get rid of the bureaucracy, get rid of the establishment, and start over.
I'll get you out of here in a second, Congresswoman, but on what I hear from my audience all the time, and I know just talking to my friends and whistleblowers that I speak to, the biggest frustration is, whether it's Lou Elizondo, others, they would love for this information to be able, like photos, videos, to be presented. I would love for Congresswoman Nancy Mace to hold up a giant poster board during one of these hearings and show.
I want an alien body on a gurney. I want the non-human biologics on a gurney and roll it into an oversight hearing. That's what, that's what people want to see. We don't have that information. We don't have that evidence. But if it exists, I'm sure as hell going to try to find it.
Yeah, maybe start in Ohio, and the stonewalling members of Congress who want to keep what's hidden at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base hidden from all of us, right? Start there. I'd love for them to have to bring that forward, but they won't, because they're corrupt and they will try to stonewall and keep it from us. I'll get you out of here on this, Congresswoman, which is, how are you feeling about the Trump administration? We talk about transparency. We want these files open. We've heard from President Trump-elect Trump, that he wants these files open, whether it's the JFK files or others. Full transparency. Are you confident that his cabinet appointments and the incoming Trump administration will be able to do that? Or are you seeing deep state forces that are already trying to thwart that?
Well, my thoughts are two-pronged. Number one, I think that Trump has the opportunity and will be the most transparent president in United States history. That's number one. I believe he deeply, based on his public comments, desires, wants that to happen. My second part of that, to answer the question, is that I am deeply concerned about the deep state. We're already seeing Trump's nominees slowly get picked off one by one over in the U.S. Senate, people that don't hold up his agenda, they don't believe in the Trump mandate, and are going to hurt and not allow his nominees to become cabinet members. And so we're seeing that in real time right now. It's disturbing. And I worry about the deep state in Washington, business as usual, the establishment getting in the way of what will be the most successful president in U.S. history.
Well, I certainly hope President Trump is able to come in and be able to release some of these files and be transparent and open. It's just my concern is that there are all these deep state forces that are in Washington that are actively trying to, they're like leeches, they're like those moray eels or whatever. They're trying to gather and get onto the Trump administration right now and do whatever they can to kind of thwart this. How confident are you that his cabinet appointees will go through?
Well, I'm very nervous about it. He has great appointees. We've already seen one get dispatched by the Senate, and I'm worried about another this week. And I think that they'll do anything that they can to stop him. And we're watching it live. It's one of the reasons he had such a winning mandate in November. People want his nominees, but there's a deep state and establishment that will stop him at all costs.
Congresswoman Nancy Mace, great to see you. Thank you so much. Thank you for keeping up the good fight on this. And we will share our whistleblower contacts with you, and hopefully they'll be able to put that on the congressional record about what's happening. Thank you so much.
Abbiamo parlato di appaltatori della difesa che potrebbero o meno essere coinvolti e perché lo sono, che tipo di tecnologia, propulsione, subacquea, marina o aerea, eccetera. L'argomento delle persone ferite e risarcite per le loro ferite, presumibilmente in un programma di recupero dopo un incidente. Per me sono dettagli piccoli, ma sono grandi. Sono piccoli dettagli che in realtà fanno una grande differenza in questa conversazione più ampia. E sa, certe cose non dovrebbero essere classificate. La quantità di denaro che spendiamo per alcuni di questi programmi non dovrebbe essere nascosta al popolo americano. Ma lo fanno. Tutti questi testimoni erano sotto giuramento. Sei sbalordita dall'ammissione che questo è ciò che sta succedendo. Ed è sorprendente e per certi versi è davvero scioccante. È rivoluzionario e ora sono ancora più curiosa. Venerdì mi hanno consegnato una pila di documenti in ufficio. Ho trascorso il weekend a esaminare documenti governativi non classificati su alcuni di questi programmi e quindi ci sono più domande che risposte. E ora è una specie di processo in due fasi. Una riguarda la divulgazione. Cosa può essere divulgato? Quando può essere divulgato? Il popolo americano merita delle risposte. Ma mi piacerebbe vedere alcuni di questi whistleblower farsi avanti con i loro resoconti di prima mano, in particolare ex militari, ex piloti, persone che sono sui sottomarini, che hanno visto alcune di queste cose, questi fast mover, qualsiasi cosa abbiano. Sono documenti governativi declassificati, alcuni dell'FBI, alcuni del DoD e dell'esercito statunitense in particolare, dove c'è una missione che ci sono cose che hanno visto, che sono non identificate, non possono identificarle, che c'è un programma, che ci sono siti di incidenti, che ci sono cose che vengono recuperate. In effetti, ho visto una nota. Era tra l'FBI e credo l'esercito, dove c'era una nota scritta a mano che diceva che avremmo aiutato con questo programma. Vogliamo accedere al materiale dell'incidente, vogliamo accedere al sito, vogliamo accedere al veicolo o ad altro.
E da chi era?
Era dall'FBI all'esercito degli Stati Uniti al Dipartimento della Difesa. Probabilmente l'ha già vista. Quindi alcune di queste cose sono in realtà nuove per me che sto imparando e non lo sono, e dal mio punto di vista è come se continuassero a mentirci. Penso che i dettagli siano importanti. Ci sono piccole informazioni che vedrai in un documento governativo e sembrano piccole, potrebbero essere una parola o una frase, ma in realtà hanno un significato enorme.
Voglio dire che c'era un altro rapporto dell'Aro uscito il giorno dopo la sua udienza. Quello contraddiceva persino il rapporto dell'Aro dell'anno scorso. Quindi ha ragione a sottolineare quella cosa.
Sì, voglio dire, scientificamente non può essere. Ci sono cose che non sono spiegate. Potrebbe essere un programma di armi, potrebbe essere la Russia, la Cina, potrebbe essere qualsiasi cosa. Non è zero però. Oppure potrebbe essere una UAP extraterrestre. Non lo sappiamo, ma non è zero. Quindi quando dicono zero, mentono.
Quello che non abbiamo ancora sentito sentito è da qualcuno che ha detto di aver lavorato direttamente su queste cose, giusto? Abbiamo sentito persone che dicono di aver sentito testimoni o di aver parlato con loro, ma nessuno che abbia detto che le mie mani erano su una nave o un pezzo di una nave o che ero direttamente in prima persona. Sono un testimone diretto di questo. Ha sentito da quel tipo di persone, in contesti privati, e c'è uno sforzo per cercare di convincere quel tipo di persona a farsi avanti in un'udienza del congresso in pubblico.
Beh, ecco perché vogliamo proteggere i whistleblower. Ho sentito di individui che vorrebbero farsi avanti, ma sono spaventati o impauriti. E quindi abbiamo del lavoro da fare per proteggere le persone. Guarda cosa hanno fatto a David Grush. Se pensavi che fosse un testimone senza senso, eri il governo, pensavi che non fosse credibile. Allora perché violare la sua privacy medica e l'IPA per avere una storia diffamatoria contro di lui dopo che ha testimoniato? Se questo tizio non è nessuno e non ha niente di degno di nota da dire, perché dovresti distruggere la sua reputazione, giusto? E penso che ci siano altre persone che sono preoccupate per il modo in cui saranno trattate.
Quindi, come dovrebbe essere? Immagino, una maggiore divulgazione al congresso. È solo che devi aspettare un direttore della CIA che sia più disponibile a dire: guarda, il congresso deve saperlo. Stiamo infrangendo la legge. Come si presenta?
Penso che ci siano molte agenzie diverse, non solo la CIA. Voglio dire, stiamo parlando del DoD, dell'esercito, del Pentagono, persone che sono state informate alla Casa Bianca. Il presidente ha voce in capitolo, ma c'è una profonda sfiducia da parte del popolo americano, del governo americano, e per una buona ragione. E quindi un po' di trasparenza aiuterebbe molto a ripristinare quella fiducia. E se non c'è niente, allora mostriamolo. Ma finora ci hanno mentito. Quindi c'è qualcosa. E cos'è? Quanti soldi stiamo spendendo e per che tipo di programmi? Credo nel modo in cui è compartimentato. Penso che ci siano dei leader, sia nell'esercito che col presidente degli Stati Uniti, a cui vengono nascoste delle informazioni.